Sup, Gloomers? Today we're going to be talking about buttons and bugs. That's right, buttons and bugs, the new version of Gloomhaven that's incredibly small. Why am I shouting? I'm just mostly really excited about it. I did get to demo it at PAX Unplugged. It was PAX Unplugged. It was particularly fun, and I just want to shout it off on a rooftop. But I don't have a rooftop. I have a YouTube channel. If you want to be kept up to date with all things Gloomhaven, Frosthaven, be sure to subscribe. And if you want to help the channel, like or join us on Patreon. It really helps, and we give you early access to videos. Yay. So, what is Buttons and Bugs? Buttons and Bugs is like a condensed version of Gloomhaven that's solo player, which some people have been wanting a solo experience because the solo scenarios are kind of, you know, they're just one-off things. And of course we have, you can play Gloomhaven solo, but the experience of juggling two characters can sometimes be a little overwhelming. So this gives you an easy to play solo experience that's designed for that. Not only that, but it's portable, unlike, you know, most Gloomhaven. Either that or I get my friend Josh to carry it around. It really, that's the solution. Buttons and Bugs takes its design from Joe Clipful, who designed Gloomhaven. It looks like he's put together a lot of like different modes of experience for these like single player accessibility. And taken this idea and developed by the very talented Nikki Valens, who's worked on all these other projects too, which is amazing. And now we have this really cute product. The story starts with your stifled attempt to try to talk to Hale for whatever reason. The reason doesn't really matter. The whole point is she set up a trap because, frankly, Hale can't be trifled with intruders, so she just set up a trap that shrinks you. And turns out you're not the first person to step into it. There's other bandits who were trying to presumably the correct targets of the trap, but the trap just keeps rearming itself as marked you as its next victim. So now with these shrink bandits, you have to fight them off, and including rats, which are normally not small, but now, oh, you know, it's like Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, but with more inox and orchids. For story purposes, though, there is a little bit more story after this, and also higher stuff. We're not going to talk about anything above level 1 cards and what you're going to be introduced story-wise on the first card. So don't worry, you're not going to get spoiled here. You'll be playing through a short campaign with Gloomhaven mechanics. It's only 20 scenarios. You have ability cards, you have rests, you have poison, wound, strengthen, even my favorite, tops and bottoms, but you also have fronts and backs. Cards have A and B sides, and unlike B sides, which are normally kind of meh, these ones are actually pretty great. So it's got a lot in common with Gloomhaven, and even though monster actions are a little bit smaller than what you'd have for the full 8 actions in Gloomhaven, what's the big difference besides it being Italy, wittily, and cute? So look at this die here. Here's the thing, this is a Haven project featuring a die, which I know a lot of people are like, oh no, Isaac's afraid of dice, and he is. That's how you can tell he didn't work on this, but no, it's the die is specifically used to handle monster behavior and modifiers. So all you need is a single die to handle everything. This streamlined process allows you to determine what monster behavior. They're going to have a list of 3 actions. Roll the die, pick one. Then when monsters attack, they're going to have 3 different options as the outcome of that attack that can change as every time the attack goes down simultaneously, just like you. So when you hold yourself to just 1 die and a couple of charts to handle everything, it actually means that you can pack a lot of things in just a small number of components. And the 18 slots on this little card initially should look familiar. But don't worry, if this looks like, oh, well, that looks normal, but kind of boring. As you level up, depending on what class you pick, you will get a new card that will replace these and it'll make it slowly better over time. Sometimes even moving where the null and crit are, or even giving you cool new abilities or higher numbers, which is most common. The big difference between the A and B side cards, though, for this is whenever you play an A card, the B card immediately bounces to your hand. You still pick 2 cards, play 2 cards, and then once you're out of cards, you still rest. But A cards turn into B cards go to your discard. The big thing, though, here is elements are going to be tied to whatever card is facing. If the A side is visible and you play an A side and it flips to the B side and your other card used that element, you're not going to get that bonus. Consequently, though, if you don't have an element available and you use an A side which flips to a B side which has that element, congrats, you've got it. So the strategy still exists, just a little bit different. This also means that it prevents enemies and allies from constantly having to use an element board that you're fiddling with in the middle of this small haven. There's a little bit of streamlining in determining how elements get used. However, since you do rest and lose a card, you're going to be losing an A and a B side card, so your decisions are going to be very important there, and also that means that the scenarios are going to need to be smaller. in multiple ways. Buttons and Bugs ships with the starting characters, so you'll be able to play the Bruiser, the Scoundrel, the Cragheart, the Spellweaver, the Tinkerer, and the Mind Thief. But, you know, who knows down the road, maybe we'll have more. This kind of reminds me of, like, the play, kind of like Slay the Spire, where instead of, like, focusing on just getting through the campaign once, it's how well can you do with that character, and then try kind of like do it better. In addition to the fact that first off, the story's cute and fun, replayability definitely feels higher in this than other Havens. Even though I do like other Havens, there's a certain weight to it, to saying, you know what, Gloomhaven's great, let's do it again. And that's not for everyone, but Buttons and Bugs is something you're going to be returning to repeatedly. So we know a little bit more about it. We have the dice, we have the miniatures, the cute little thing, the monsters, these cute little cubes, and everything that goes with Buttons and Bugs. That'll tell you at least about the game, but here's the thing. Here's the opinion piece. Is it good? And you're getting just one person's opinion, but she's pretty cute, so we'll listen to her. I was a bit skeptical. Who's the target audience? Who's going to enjoy this? Like, I already have group play, so I don't necessarily need a delivered solo experience. As a matter of fact, when I played Gloomhaven Digital, a lot of times I just want to play with my friends rather than do my own solo campaign, because I just like the cooperative aspect of it. So taking that away, maybe I'm not the target audience. I already have a reliable group, which makes me a little bit biased. Hell, I even got my boyfriend looped in, and he's playing through Jaws of the Lion. So, like, I already have a lot of group play. Why do I want to play with myself? This is really just a product meant for solo play. But through playing it, I discovered I am also the target audience, but I'm also a big Gloomhaven fangirl, so that's not terribly surprising. It's just really fun. Once I got to dive into it, and like the first turn is a little like trying to learn all the like what the things are, but then boom, you just hit the ground running. And of course, for the like purposes of media embargo and stuff, we're only going to talk about what was available at PAX Unplugged. Also, for spoiler reasons, I've planned a handful of classes, but I'm just going to focus on the Bruiser, because the Bruiser was one experience in Gloomhaven that I found to not be that fun. I did actually test it a little bit in Gloomhaven 2nd Edition, and I like the Bruiser 2nd Edition. I think the new version looks fun. I super enjoy it, and I'm glad we've gotten a revision. But my first time on this character, which wasn't my first starter, my starter was the Cragheart back when I first started, but I eventually bounced over to the Brute just to try it out, which was called Brute at the time, Bruiser now. But I wanted to say, hey, this is usually not my cup of tea. Do I like playing? And the answer is yes. The Bruiser, it's very interesting because you do feel a little bit more tanky. You feel like you can use your abilities to cool effect. You feel like you can have this burst damage, and it feels exactly how you would want a Brute to play. Obviously, the Spellweaver with its elements feels super fun, a little bit more advanced and bouncy. But all the characters definitely have their own aspect of it. Some of them needed change. For example, the Scoundrel doesn't need allies next to him. For solo play, requiring you to have allies would kind of be a little bit of a cruel joke, wouldn't it? And the Tinkerer no longer is like, hey, I'm really good at healing my friends, because you have no friend. I mean, I hope you have friends, but we're talking the Tinkerer, who no one likes, and he has no friends in this instance. Obviously, there's a big fan base around him. But unequivocally, yes. It's such an enjoyable experience, just going through and playing, and it plays very quickly. It doesn't feel like you're bogged down. The setup doesn't take long at all. I mean, I remember when I'm like, hey, I'm gonna go help set up the boots, and set up 3 layers of like Buttons and Bugs, and I'm like, oh crap, that was too fast. I'm so used to setting up the Frosthaven demo, I just assumed that this was gonna take a considerable amount of time, like in my head. But boom, I set up like 3 demos. I'm like, I'm gonna go help you guys set up other stuff, because it sets up fast, which is a change of pace for people. It plays fast, so you can just get through the next thing. It's just fun. It's enjoyable, especially if you like the Gloomhaven puzzle, because the idea of monsters having slightly variant behaviors, if you like the idea of playing through these obstacles and a cute little story, it's definitely going to be up your alley. It did leave me annoyed that I wasn't able to play the whole box. I really just wanted to steal the box. Obviously, I did not do that. I'm going to be getting my own copy shortly, and but no, it was really fun. It was fun to teach people the game, because once you walk people through the game, you can see that spark light up, where people are like, I've played Gloomhaven. I backed it because it was only 15, but I don't know much about it. And then walk people through it and see them go from like to No, the demo's over. And this demo's so fast compared to the others, they're almost disappointed they can't keep playing. And I know that was the thing. That was the theme that people wanted more once they were able to play it. And that describes exactly how I felt. Hey, Alice, this sounds really positive. Did they pay you to do this? No, they did not pay me to make this video. Honestly, I mostly do all these. I'm super enthused about almost everything just because I'm very enthusiastic about it. Now, like, not everything. I clearly have done tier lists where I trash on specific classes and go, yeah, this isn't great. Or I've called like the Eclipse first edition not fun because it's not. But when it comes to my concerns, we'll see when I get a full copy. I'm going to do a little rundown of buttons and bugs when I have it, the full copy accessible. Well, where I'll have a little bit more of a spoiler version, but I wanted to just go over first impressions here, and I will be doing a review of it, how I feel about this when I get it, and once I've played through all 20 scenarios, probably a few times. So, but I do think it's enjoyable, and it's something that even on first impression, I would recommend to anyone who's a fan of Gloomhaven, or just anyone who's a fan of some of these like puzzle dungeon crawly games. While I'm waiting for buttons and bugs, I'm going to try to see how high in Ascension I can get my defect and Slay the Spire, because that's been my jam lately. So I hope you're all excited for buttons and bugs as I am. Obviously, I'm super hyped to just do a video on it, but at the same time, if there is something I forgot to address, shoot me a question. I'll answer as much as I possibly can. If not, I have access to the resources, and we can see if this is something we can answer for you. Or if you're hyped and just want to say, hey, I'm going to be playing whatever character, let me know in the comments. Plus, comments just help the channel as well as likes. So that's the best way. If you do want to support me, you can. But if you really want to support me, consider joining Patreon. We do have early access, and thank you to all my Inox tier patrons. Thanks to all my patrons, but especially my Inox tier patrons. Your support means a lot. And I did actually, I got a new microphone. I used the Patreon money to buy a new mic instead of just, spending it on medical bills, but I decided to reinvest it in the channel. So thanks all patrons for being wonderful and amazing. And thanks all of you for watching.